easy equation. Perforations, rare events also, 1 in 1,000, mostly inserter related. If you don't have that much experience with it, you're most likely to have an accident, but it's a very rare event. Mostly will not be detected at the time of insertion. We've had stories of amenorrheic women not getting pregnant, but we're fine, we're looking up for the IUD, and the IUD is not dangerous. It's out there in the abdomen, and some people were taken, some patients obviously were taken to surgery for a laparoscopic removal of those IUDs. Funny enough, experience tends to show that there's less of an inflammatory response with intra-abdominal hormonal IUDs because of their plastic medium. There's no copper, there's no inflammation. So people are sometimes discussing in their dreams, maybe we should leave them in there. But that's another story, and we're not there to discuss. But you know what? They're quite easier to remove. There's no doubt about that. And obviously, perforation, there are risk factors, postpartum insertions. Back home in La Salle, we tend to defer them at least no before than 8 weeks. And obviously, breastfeeding, they shrink the uterus so much. And obviously, retroverted or abnormal anatomy. And of course, skill and experience of the person. Expulsion rates, about 1% a year. Devices that last 5 years, they have a 5% expulsion rate. If you think about the JADIS, which is indicated for 3 years, well, it's a 1% expulsion rate a year. But it will mostly happen within the first 3 months after insertion. So, predicting factors for expulsion: age, heavy menstrual bleeding, dysmenorrhea, and a history of previous expulsion. Funny enough, and I find that a strange data, but it is, 90% of expulsions go unnoticed. So it's the way it is. They lose their urine, they lose the IUD, and I don't know where I've lost it. So probably in a big clot, or obviously, hopefully, in the toilet with a flush. So what's the rationale for having a smaller system? There's a trend toward getting everything smaller, except for the iPhone, which is getting bigger. Smaller T-frame, smaller insertion tube, smaller reservoir. They all call for a better, to be able to suit it in a smaller cavity, easier installation, and less painful for the patient. So these are all the rationale under this. You know what it's all about. We do our own ultrasounds back in La Salle. We do our gynae, we do our obstetrics first, second, and third trimester. And this is pretty brand new, but I really enjoy to see the silver ring up there, because by endovaginal ultrasound, it's an easy pickup to differentiate between a Mirena or a JADIS, just because of that little jewel on top of the device. Obviously, there's the new Evo inserter, which will come for the Mirena in a couple of years if Health Canada ever states that it's okay to use the new device. But fairly easy to use. As we know, we don't have to put the arms horizontally. It's smaller diameter. There are no threads that comes out that are so sometimes cumbersome. So very easy to use. These are the comparison data. 14 micrograms a day versus 20. 3 years versus 50 years, everything. We all know about the mechanism of action. It's mostly intrauterine, but it's also a shield at the cervix, so unwanted hosts don't make their way in, and I'm not talking about sperm, but also germs, so that's why we think there might be a protective effects for PIDs. One of my big sellers, when I tried to sell the IUD to the hormonal IUD, we know we live in a hormonophobic era. Hormones are bad for you. I don't want to hear anything about hormones. Yeah, but I want to sell you a hormonal device. I said, well, you know what, I don't want hormones. I'm scared about hormones. Everybody's scared about hormones. Well, these are the plasma level of levonorgestrel for those patients that have a JADIS in. And the way I convince patients is that this is 50 times lower than if you would take a pill that contains levonorgestrel. And our Our standard back home is Alice, Alivia, which contain 100 milligrams of levonorgestrel, while that compares to 50 times less hormone in our body. So that is usually a seller. It's the most efficacious method of contraception, and it is the one with the least hormone. So, as would say one of our previous Prime Minister, c'est le plus meilleur pour une contraception. Of course, the number of bleeding and spotting, if you compare it to the older sister Mirena, of course, the first 3 months are the purgatory. That's what I tell my patients. I mean, and you must advise them, as we know, this is the experience. And compared to Mirena, Jadis seems to be a little more bleeding. There's no doubt about that, and this is what we see on the field. Obviously, this comes with less amenorrhea, so maybe less problematic for those patients that do not wish to have amenorrhea, because this is a fact that we sometimes face, especially in Montreal, where we have a lot of North African immigrants, and they want to have their period. Sometimes they perceive that as a purification process. So these myths we still have to work with. So less amenorrhea with Jadis, and a little more better use for spacers, let's say. So, of course, obviously it's a smaller thing. It really shows, and I guess in your experience you've been able to tell that it's an easier device to insert. It's much more easy. And pain is just as equal, or even a stronger or a bigger number of patients that will call for no pain or mild to moderate pain. So, obviously, ovarian cysts, this is sometimes we frequently see during Mirena usage. We encounter a lot of functional cysts, whereas if you compare it to the smaller device, there are much less functional cysts. So, and in terms of contraception, when I say that it's one of the best methods of contraception, it is with a Pearl index of a cumulative Pearl index of 0.3. So that's really high. Safety, well, in the phase 2 and phase 3 studies, as I told you before, expulsion rates of 3%. There were only 6 cases of PIDs, and in those many years of phase 2 and phase 3 studies, there were no perforation. So I'll be very quick on that. Unintended pregnancies is a public health issue that we should address, and they contribute to a high abortion rates amongst Canadian women, those young kids that we see on a regular basis, and sometimes on a repetitive basis. And non-adherence with the most widely used oral contraceptives will compromise the effectiveness of this method. There are numerous advantages to IUCs. They're safe, they're effective, and they're a reliable option for both non-lips and multips. Current barriers in IUC use should be overcome. Effective counseling is the key management, and the new kid on the block is the new IUCs. So that's about it that we have to say about this. Yes.
Thank you very much, Dr. Arsenaul. I have actually two questions. One, you talk about...
Can I get to choose the one I want?
If you want. On you. One, about unintended pregnancies. One of the biggest problems, you say 400,000 of those unintended pregnancies are in teenagers. I know that buyer's policy is to talk about young women, but what about using this kind of IUS with teenagers? That's the first one. And the second one, most of the problems associated with the IUDs are from the insertion moment. The PID, it's in the first month, the expulsion, the pain, the risk of perforation. If we are using a 3-year IUD, aren't we increasing the risk because we have to put more during the life of the woman than using one for 5 years or for 10 years?
Well, that is an interesting issue. It's like going to the dentist. I mean, should I have all my teeth removed because I don't have to go to the dentist in a 6 months interval to have my teeth removed? I mean, obviously, I think you're right about that, but you have to choose among those two systems, and there's no other way to do around. I mean, maybe they will come with longer systems down the pipeline, which I have no idea about. And as far as teenagers, I know that the corporation has not focused their group or their potential clients as teenagers, mostly adults, where they mainly overlap. Back home, we have a lot of experience with teenagers, and I must tell that also that in phase 2 and phase 3 studies, as much as 30 to 40% of their patients were nulliparous. So I think it has a high adoption rate amongst those kids, and I think we should shy away from that clientele.
Question?
André, je vais juste prendre 5 minutes. I'm going to talk in French 2 minutes to my colleagues from the association. I think we're about 95% of the people here. I just want to show you something. J'aimerais juste vous montrer un petit quelque chose. Okay? J'ai fini de faire ça. Des fois, la nuit, je ne m'endors pas, puis je travaille, à faire des congrès, puis à m'amuser. Vous savez que le site web, c'est un autre de mes petits bébés que je suis bien content de voir. L'inscription en ligne est fermée, bien sûr. Mais j'aimerais vous inviter à aller visiter votre site web, que j'aime beaucoup. Et vous allez ici dans votre espace membre. Je vais partir ça ici. Bien sûr, hein, le nom d'usager, c'est votre numéro. Ça, c'est facile. Si vous ne vous souvenez pas de vos mots de passe, ben, on va vous en envoyer un par la malle électronique. Alors, on rentre dans notre espace membre. Je vais juste montrer ça ici. Et on s'en va ici dans l'espace membre. Et on a ajouté ici, dans les publications et actualités, un petit onglet ici. Il y a le bulletin de Ginobilis, qui est un autre, qui est le plus grand de mes enfants, finalement, et qui marche tout seul, quasiment tout seul aujourd'hui. Ça va super bien. Et je vous invite à soumettre les photos que vous aurez prises, parce qu'on va publier rapidement au retour. Alright? Donc, bien sûr, les affaires de la OGQ, l'info-tarif. Oh, ici, vidéoconférence congrès annuel 2014. Voir tous les détails. Et ils sont tous là. Jeudi, 29 p.m., vendredi 30 AM, vendredi 30 PM. Alors, si vous voulez voir ici, c'est pas tellement. Mais ne me textez pas, s'il vous plaît, pour me demander le mot de passe, parce qu'il est ici, sur la page web, à OGQ 2014, en petites lettres. All right? Alors, la plus populaire, c'est le beau Dr Saint-Jean. Il était donc bien beau, le Dr Saint-Jean. Ceci nous catapulte vers le site Vimeo, qui est un site un peu à la YouTube, okay, mais à laquelle j'ai choisi lui parce qu'on peut l'avoir de façon beaucoup plus privée. Alors, le site n'est pas accessible, ils ne sont pas répertoriés sur l'espace web en général. Et puis, on trouve ici sur vidéo, on trouve le vidéo, on reconnaît ici, et ça va nous demander un mot de passe. Là, la connexion n'est pas très rapide ici. Là. Mais probablement que là, mon ordinateur ne me demande pas le mot de passe parce que ça va je me suis déjà connecté à quelques reprises. Alors, c'est pour ça qu'on ne me demande pas le mot de passe, mais là où j'ai le mot de passe, vous l'avez vu à OGQ 2014. Et ainsi, on a enlevé la séquence Buzz Lightyear. Je suis très, très, très déçu. Mais il demeure pas moins que toutes les conférences du congrès avec le mot de passe à OGQ 2014 sont disponibles aux membres de l'industrie aussi qui avaient demandé d'avoir accès à ces données-là. Alors ça, c'est la dernière réalisation. Là-dessus, ben, je vous laisse. Vous avez des valises à faire, des actions à faire. Oui, pour ceux qui ont présenté ce matin, on va vous faire une demande de vos présentations PDF. PDF, elles sont protégées, les gens ne peuvent pas se les approprier. On les met en noir et blanc, et puis on va les mettre sur notre site FTP pour que vous pourriez les télécharger par la suite. All right?
Merci Marc-Yves. Il reste 2 conférences, j'aimerais que vous restiez si possible.
Yes, I want to invite now Dr. Makodianakis from Greece to talk about thyroid disease during pregnancy.
Good morning to everybody, dear Mr. President, and I would like, dear colleagues, to thank the organizing committee for giving us the privilege and the honor to talk about the thyroid diseases during pregnancy. As we know, it's a common endocrine disorder in women of reproductive age. It's about 1 to 7%, that's the average in the literature, but you can also find some series that this goes up to 10 or 15% of pregnant women that will have a thyroid disorder during their pregnancy. And these problems are, of course, important for both mother and the fetus. Also, hyper or hypothyroidism causes a lot of problems, as we will see in detail in the next slides. Now, my topic,